You know, thousands of years ago, the Roman general Julius Caesar took over, basically turning a republic into a one-man show. And he had this one guy he trusted more than anyone, a senator he treated like a son. But power, well, it's a tricky business. This is a story about modern politics, but it really starts with that timeless tale of power, ambition, and betrayal.
Et tu, Brute? You too, Brutus? These are supposedly the last words Caesar ever spoke, right as his best friend, Brutus, stuck a dagger in him. It's a line that's become the ultimate shorthand for being betrayed by the very people you thought had your back.
So, how on earth does a story from ancient Rome connect to the wild, complicated world of modern Pakistani politics? Well, that's what we're going to unpack. We're looking at the decades-long relationship between a hugely popular leader, Imran Khan, and the powerful state institutions people just call the establishment. It's a story of a political project that, by many accounts, built a prime minister and then, just as quickly, tore him down.
To really get it, we'd have to go back to the beginning. Before Imran Khan was a politician, he was leading a pressure group. And as you'll see, his very first allies were some serious insiders.
You know, before he ever launched his party, the PTI, Imran Khan was famous for saying how much he disliked politics. Anytime someone asked, you'd hear the same thing: I am not a politician. He built this whole image of being an outsider, someone totally above the grubby political fray.
But here's where it gets really interesting. A story from back in 1995 revealed that this so-called anti-politician was putting together a pressure group to take on the two big parties. And guess who his partners were? General Hamid Gul, a former chief of the all-powerful ISI, and Muhammad Ali Durrani, another guy known for being deeply connected to the establishment. So from day one, the man who said he was against the system was teaming up with some of its most powerful players who were apparently looking for a fresh face to challenge the old guard. Okay, so those quiet early alliances, they started to grow into something much bigger. This is where what his critics call Project Imran Khan really starts to take shape, a full-on effort to get him into power. Just take a look at this. It's like we're seeing two completely different Imran Khans. In 1999, he was all for General Pervez Musharraf's military coup. He said it had to be done to get rid of corrupt politicians. But then, flash forward to 2008. After he'd had a falling out with Musharraf, he's writing in The Guardian that he's learned his lesson and that, quote, democracy is not for generals. Quite a change, huh?
So why did that first alliance with Musharraf even fall apart? Well, if you listen to Musharraf himself, it all came down to a bit of a reality check. He claims that when they were talking about seats for the 2002 election, Khan came in demanding 90 or 100 seats, thinking he had this massive wave of popular support. The establishment's own math? They figured he was good for maybe 4 or 5 seats. That gap was just way too big, and so they went their separate ways.
Let's jump ahead to 2014. A whole series of, let's just call them, interesting coincidences started happening. Imran Khan, this political cleric named Tahir al-Qadri, and a few other key political players all just happened to be in London at the exact same time. A journalist actually spotted them leaving a secret late-night meeting together, and what happens just a few weeks later? Back in Pakistan, Khan and Qadri launched this huge, coordinated protest to try and bring down the government. His opponents gave it a name, the London Plan. Now, those 2014 protests didn't actually topple the government, but they absolutely set the stage for the next phase, systematically weakening anyone and anything that stood in Imran Khan's way.
And a huge piece of that strategy involved the media. When Pakistan's two biggest independent news organizations, Geo News and Dawn News, found themselves in the establishment's crosshairs, Imran Khan didn't step up to defend press freedom. No, quite the opposite. He actually led the public campaign against them, basically echoing the establishment's narrative that they were unpatriotic.
And then, a gift from the political heavens just drops into his lap, the Panama Papers. This massive global leak exposed offshore companies owned by the family of the prime minister at the time, Nawaz Sharif. For an opposition leader, this was pure gold. It became the perfect weapon, and Khan launched an all-out legal and political war that went all the way to the Supreme Court.
The court hearings for that case were just something else. Journalists who were there, like Asif Bashir Chaudhry, described this completely wild scene. One day, they show up and paramilitary rangers have just taken over the entire court complex. And they're not letting anyone in, not just reporters, but the actual sitting interior minister of the country couldn't even get inside.
So get this, after one of these high-stakes hearings, when the building had pretty much cleared out, that same journalist managed to film a high-ranking ISI colonel secretly leaving the judge's private chambers. I mean, that is just a stunning piece of visual evidence. It suggested to a lot of people that some serious pressure was being applied directly to the judges hearing the case against the prime minister.
Okay, so the main rival is weakened. The final piece of the puzzle is all about political engineering. You have to make sure that the powerful local politicians, the ones they call electables, switch over to your team right before an election. And you have to see how this played out. It was brilliant in a way. Just months before the 2018 election, a whole bunch of politicians from the ruling party in this really important region, South Punjab, all resigned on the same day. They create this new political front, saying it's all about fighting for their region. Then, just a few weeks later, the entire front just merges with Imran Khan's PTI. And just like that, a huge group of winning candidates landed right in his lap, just in time for the vote.
So Imran Khan becomes prime minister in 2018. The project worked. But just like Caesar and Brutus, that powerful alliance, well, it didn't last. And that brings us right back to the central question. Is this a cycle that can ever actually be broken?
Hey, remember that quote from 2008? A full decade before he became prime minister, Khan wrote that he had learned his lesson about depending on generals. He seemed to get that these kinds of alliances are really, really risky. And yet, when you look at the road he took to get to the top, you have to ask, was it a lesson he forgot? Now today, with Imran Khan out of power and facing the full force of the state himself, journalists like Asif Bashir Chowdhury are seeing a script they know all too well. As he puts it, the names have changed, but the game is exactly the same. The same tactics that were once used to clear a path for Khan are now, allegedly, being used against him. And that really leaves us with this one big thought. From General Gold to General Musharraf to the generals who helped Khan rise, the faces of the establishment, they change. The political leaders they choose to back or to break, they change too. But does the fundamental game, the game of making and breaking civilian leaders, does that ever really end? That's the question that sits at the very heart of Pakistan.